If you want more astrological content than you can handle, go over to my Substack and subscribe to Moon Matters magazine. I've started curating a compendium of astrological articles, everything from weekly wisdoms that have mini newspaper-style horoscopes to in-depth transit analyses. I ramble about asteroid goddesses and make pithy notes, and best of all, it's all free, just like this podcast. I did launch another publication on there called Delena's Diary. We love alliteration around here, if you can't tell. That's something else entirely, and I'm just going to leave it at that. If you want to check it out, it's there. If not, stick with Moon Matters magazine and all the free astrology extras. Speaking of alliteration, a little known fact about this podcast is that I almost named it the Astrologer's Almanac because, again, we love alliteration around here, but I felt people wouldn't get it for some reason, so I changed it in the 11th hour, and I've always kind of wondered if I should have kept it. In the spirit of being in both my Jupiter and Mars return, let's play a game. If you think this podcast should have been called The Astrologer's Almanac, let me know in the comments. If I get enough of you saying that it should have been The Astrologer's Almanac, I will change it. If you think the weekly astro weather is the right and truthful name, you can also leave a comment, or I'll take your silence as a vote as well. I'm excited to see how this one unfolds. I think I made the right choice changing it, even though it did sound cool, but I guess we'll see. Let's get into this week's forecast before I make any more bargains I'll need to make good on. If you're listening in real time, Sunday, July 12th, then happy Mercury Cazimi. That's right, folks. We're starting the week off with some Mercury retrograde Cazimi action. The Cazimi that we get during Mercury's retrograde is often a high point of the retrograde. It's something that gets a little extra attention or really showcases what needs edited and revised while Mercury is in its retrograde state of mind. The house that Cancer rules for you is where this retrograde has been taking place, so it's also where this Cazimi is going to come to life. Let's do a little refresher on a Cazimi because it's important to know. A Cazimi is when a planet is right at the heart of the sun. It's protected from the rays of the sun, and it's no longer under the beams or combust, both of which are when a planet gets essentially fried by the intensity of the sun's rays. It happens really often, and it's not something that's brought up a whole lot unless you're really diving into astrological interpretation. But technically, if a planet or placement is within 15 degrees on either side of the sun, it's getting a little pink, it's getting a little crispy, and it's losing potency. The Cazimi is special because the planet sits at the heart of the sun and, again, becomes protected from those harsh rays. Ancient astrologers would say a planet had the king's ear if it was exactly conjunct the sun, which is what a Cazimi is. Mercury having the king's ear at the start of the week will be our chance to bring our revisions to the royal court, so to speak. We're creating more awareness around something that needs to change, and we'll have the means and support to do so on Sunday when the Cazimi is in play. If you need a refresher on what this retrograde is supposed to be about for you in general, go to my Substack and you'll find a Mercury retrograde article in Moon Matters magazine with all the details, because I feel like I could even use a refresher. Mercury retrogrades feel like they mess with time, and it feels like this one has been so long already, but also like we're running out of time. It's really hard for me personally to track. But like I said, we have the king's ear early on in the week, and we should do something with it, or at least make an effort to check in with the area that Cancer rules and make sure we're headed in the right direction and doing things that behoove us while we still have the opportunity to be behooved. This Cazimi is well timed because just 2 days later, we have a new moon in Cancer. I'm loving the timing of this because it's feeling like we're having our moment with the king, bend in the ear, and then 2 days later, we're granted this rebirth renewal moment with the new moon. So we're taking our greater awareness and then making a new plan with it. It might not be entirely new or something that needs a complete overhaul. Even a small change or minor pivot to get us oriented properly will do. These astrological events that I talk about week after week, they don't have to all be groundbreaking. And they won't all be groundbreaking. Could you imagine if every single astrological event, every moon, every aspect hit you like a ton of bricks? No, we don't need that. Enjoy the subtlety and sometimes the banality of these transits. It's okay to be mundane. I know social media tells you it's not okay to be mundane. It is 1,000% okay. to be mundane. Not every astrological transit needs to wreck your life in order to be present. The new moon in Cancer will not be making a ton of aspects. It's really only going to be in a conjunction with Mercury and obviously the sun because it's a new moon. The ruler of this lunar event is the moon, so there's no ruler to look to for further delineation either. Which this really drives home the point that the new moon is all about the realm of Cancer and not much else. It's about what has been coming up throughout this Mercury retrograde and not much else. And honestly, we don't need it to be about much else because that's enough. At the time this podcast airs, we'll be about halfway through Mercury's retrograde. This new moon is about taking what we did and undid with Mercury's energy and forging a new path, a new idea, or a new way of going about whatever it is Cancer is connected to for us. For me, I know this is about my work, my career, Moon Matters magazine, and the other Substack publication I recently dropped. It's about how I orient myself to my work and making sure it's a heart-centered ordeal. It may also be that you guys vote that this podcast should have been named The Astrologer's Almanac, and then I'll have to feverishly work to change it. Only time will tell. Look to the realm of Cancer and really take note of what's been going on for you over the last 2 weeks. Has there been a common thread? What have you been single-pointedly focused on? What maybe should you be paying more attention to that you've cast aside? All good questions to ask yourself and to help get you on the right track so you can utilize the freshness that this new moon is trying to infuse into the realm of Cancer. This is also our first lunar event within Cancer since Jupiter left and ingressed into Leo. So we also have a good bit of accumulated wisdom to work with that Jupiter left here for us. That's something that Mercury has really been hitting the pavement about with this retrograde, but we'll see it come up and come into play with the new moon as well. All right, so that's up until Tuesday. The start of the week is bringing the vast majority of the energy. The Cazimi and the new moon are the highlights of this week for sure, but there are a few other things to note. At the very end of the week on Saturday, July 18th, Saturn in Aries will be in a sextile with Mars in Gemini. The malefics being in a harmonic aspect is like two powerhouse workaholics coming together and getting shit done. It's like the two most driven and capable people you know being on the same team. I never watched The Amazing Race, but if Saturn and Mars could be in a harmonic aspect and be on The Amazing Race, they would win, hands down. All this is to say that come the weekend, we're going to be in a getting shit done mode, and it's going to feel good. It won't feel like a slog or super hard to get motivated. This energy does mainly pertain to the realms that Aries and Gemini rule for you, so keep that in mind. That's where your motivation and get shit done attitude will manifest, but that energy is going to be in the air nonetheless. Saturn is really going to ground Mars and give it direction, and Mars is going to be a dutiful soldier ready to jump at the command. The elemental portion of this, them being an air and fire, could mean we have a little more pent-up energy, mental vitality, or just the means to really be inspired and take action. If this energetic wave hits you this weekend, take advantage of it, because early on in the week, we're going to be slowing down with the new moon and bending the king's ear. So by the end of the week, we'll be itching to get some shit done. It will very tangentially have to do with the realm of Cancer because Mars is in Gemini, so it's Mercury ruled. I'm not super worried about this though because Saturn is really creating that container for Mars. It's like a seatbelt or a safety harness. So don't overthink your action this weekend. Just go ahead and get shit done. Take initiative, do the damn thing. Don't ask for permission. Go ahead and get after it. The last thing I want to mention for the week is a sneaky energy that's going to be with us all week long. Those generational planets are all sitting at 4 degrees this week and will be until August 1st. This means that the generational planets will be making aspects with each other because they're all in masculine signs, air and fire, and we know that's not gender-based, especially if you're one of my students. We know masculine, feminine, that's not the societal gender, lunar, solar, however you want to say it. Either way, all these generational planets, it's all trines and sextiles between them, and both Neptune and Pluto are currently retrograde. I don't know what all this means, but I know it's given something. Go ask your favorite modern astrologer. What I'm more concerned about is that Jupiter will be within range with all of them for the entire week. Jupiter will be opposing Pluto, trine Neptune, and sextile Uranus. Jupiter and Leo's energy is still so fresh, it's so new, it's so beautiful, I am loving it. We're still becoming accustomed to it to a degree. So seeing this gives me a little pause, but not a whole lot. It's more about Jupiter's energy being scattered to other areas of life where the generational planets currently reside. The main thing that might happen is overestimating ourselves or stepping into some drama that we don't really need. These aspects aren't entirely malefic, but they do scatter Jupiter's energy. And there's the opposition with Pluto, which might feel like a power struggle to really expand in the ways that we want, which then we're going to be feeding into our own delusions from the trine with Neptune, and then we might act a little careless from the sextile with Uranus. You see where it's going here. It's a very slippery slope. All these generational aspects with Jupiter throughout the week are really just heightening Jupiter's energy, which can cause some explosive hissy fits, for lack of better words. Just try to keep the focus on the realm of Cancer in the beginning of the week and the realms of Aries and Gemini later in the week, and we'll be fine. Jupiter in Leo is going to have its moment many, many times. This week doesn't need to be one of those times. Have a wonderful week. Take your opportunity to bend the king's ear, get shit done, and I'll meet you back here soon. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want more astrological content, including horoscopes, retrograde guides, and occult ramblings, subscribe to my Substack at Delana. It's the best way to keep up to date with my work and to never miss a post. To book a reading with me, sign up for my mailing list on my website, moonmattersastrology.com. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.